Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Excuse me, my YouTube channel, where I cover a variety of different analytics and data science topics, everything from open discussions to actual demonstrations. Today, I'm going to do a quick demonstration on some exploratory data analysis and data quality remediation in a program called TIBCO Data Science Workbench. So what I want to do here, let me get my screen set up and let me share with you a workflow that I have. And I'm going to try to make this pretty short. It should be pretty straightforward. I have this data file. Actually, this data file comes with the system, and we've got some errors in this file. So you can see here, I've got a row that has several missing values across different variables. So that's a row, sparse row. And then you can see here, I've got some columns that are sparse as well, right? So I have some missing data here for variable 6. This is 30 predictors of yield. So it's, I've got a lot of different manufacturing type data, and these parameters are predicting this yield value. So then I also have some outliers. You can see that number is pretty high. So I want to show you a couple of things that you can do within the platform to identify all of that very quickly and fix it, remediate that data. So one of the things that we have is we have this data health check summary. So what you can do here is I can select the variables that I want to choose. And so just for demonstration, I'm just going to select a handful of these variables, variable 1 through 12. And then I'm going to kind of walk through. I'm going to use a lot of the defaults because the defaults are very good within the platform. But I do want you to know that you can change all of the defaults, right? So what is sparse data? I can set it to 10% per variable, in other words, per column, or 10% per row, and then that will flag that variable column or that row of data. I can look at categorical cases and that have just a few levels, right? So, or many levels. I can set these conditions, and that's really the important thing, is to know that you can set all of these different values, right? The defaults work pretty well. By default, outliers are detected with k-standard deviations. Here, it's 5. But if I wanted to do like a Tukey box plot, I could do that as well. I can also check for invariants, there's very little change within the values. And so for machine learning and other things, that's not necessarily a good thing to have. And then also redundancy amongst the columns. And so I'm going to run this with several of the defaults for the sparse data, outliers, invariants. I'm not going to run the redundancy. In this particular case, it does take a little bit longer because it's doing pairwise comparisons, 10 columns. You know, that's 90 different computations. And then I'm going to apply the diagnostic. I'm going to generate a report and apply data cleaning. So if I run this, what I get is I should get a report of what the workbench found. And then also I'm going to get a downstream document that'll show that data cleansed for me and it's ready for future analysis or downstream analysis, right? So here I'm getting this data health check node, and I can see that all these variables are continuous. The ones I selected, none of them are categorical, but it would show up here. Categorical variables with a greater than 100 levels, there are none. So the report is pretty complete. 96.1% of cases are complete. There are 148 cases. And so it generates a nice little report that I can use. 2 cases were removed due to sparseness, right? So that's 2 rows. And I can even identify what those are, right? So here are the columns that had issues. Parameter number 5 and number 79. There were issues with those. There were outliers detected. It gives me the percentage. So anyway, I won't go through every little feature, but you get an idea that you get a nice report. And here's what was actually excluded as well within the and why, if it's an outlier or sparsity, the reasons that was generated. So again, a nice little report, and missing data plots, etc. I want to keep these fairly short, so I'm going to go ahead and just dive in. The other thing that it generated, if I looked at my original data here, I have 31 variables in 154 cases or rows, and then when it goes through and cleans, it removed those 4 bad rows that we had. So now I've got a clean data set, and anything I hook up to this node now, it will run from that clean data. So the other thing that just to show you is if you wanted to process, say, missing data or whatever, you could do that specifically through the platform. All I have to do is drop down a node and then just configure the node, which is, again, pretty easy to do here. So I'm just doing one particular variable, and then once I run that, then that will generate and clean up that data that was, if I had anything that was missing. There's lots of things that I can do within the platform. I want to try to remove this screen, and you can see here that there's a full complement of even including missing data imputation, which is a smart way to impute data for missing cases, outliers, etc. And again, all these things are they just drop down as a node, right? So you build these workflows just by dropping these nodes onto the canvas, and it's as simple as that. The other thing that I can do, just if I'm doing exploratory data analysis, maybe I'll generate some descriptive statistics. Here I'm just grabbing like, a handful of variables. I can generate graphics, histograms, etc. So I just click the boxes here that I want for the statistics themselves. Maybe I want the median. Maybe I want some bounds, like the 10. Here it's going to calculate every 10th percentile. So very, very easy to generate all of this within the platform. And the nice thing about these templates is once I have the template constructed, then it is there, and then I don't have to recreate all my work. So I've got a report here for that particular node, and then I can go through and look at all the different variables and everything that I just set it to compute, so I can look through that. And then also I could look at a downstream document. Suppose I wanted to use those percentiles and with something else, I now have data that I can hook up elsewhere. A couple other things real quick: correlation matrices. I'm just going to do correlation on variables 1 through 5 for illustration. And I clicked a couple of options, and there we go. We have the output. The red ones are statistically significant at 0.05. I can set that statistical significance if I want. I can get a heat map for those correlations as well. If I want to do scatter plots, I can do that as well. So let me just generate a quick scatter plot. And again, these are just as simple as dropping down the node and telling the platform what variables that I want. If I want to do some sort of clustering, I can do that as well. So let me just grab, 20 columns, and I can generate clusters based on that. I can even use cross-validation to create those. I just selected 2 clusters by default, and then I can look at the process means and all kinds of descriptive statistics for the various clusters. You can do a lot there, but keeping it very short and simple, which is what I want to do, that kind of gives you an idea of how easy it is to do data management, clean data, generate a report that shows you where your problems are in your data so that you can correct them upstream, as well as generate flows with clean data for your analysis. So anyway, I hope that was useful, and you can join me again soon. Thanks.